Okay, here we are, live again. Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you could just let me know you can hear me okay, just in the comments. We're speaking again with Tony Brady tonight. This is the fourth interview we've done just in the last week. Tony is Aaron Brady's father. As most of you will probably know, Aaron Brady was jailed for 40 years for the murder of Garda Adrian Donohoe for the robbery at Lordship Credit Union back in 2013. Now, Aaron and his family have maintained his innocence this whole time, and Aaron's appeal came up in the CCJ in October last year, 2023, and I believe tomorrow is 6 months since that appeal finished, and the Bradys are still waiting for a judgment. So let me bring in Tony here. Just let me know if you can hear me in the comments, everyone, please. Whether you're listening on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, just let me know you can hear me okay. I know it's not great sound. I have to fix that. Tony will sound better. Now, let me bring Tony in here. I hope people can hear me. I haven't got any comments here yet.
I can hear you clear.
You can hear me. Well,
any benefit?
That's good. All right. I'm hoping people can hear me because we have no comments coming in. Anyway. What do you think? Yes. Okay. Fair play. Excellent.
Yeah. Very good.
Okay, Tony, just before we get into this, because we're going to talk about tonight allegations that the Brady family, whether it was just yourself or whoever in your family, were intimidating some of the prosecution witnesses. We didn't get a chance to cover that last week, so we're going to cover it tonight because you're actually in the CCJ next week about this. You have to deal with this allegation of.
Yes, it's a tendency to pervert the course of justice. It's Aaron and another young man called Dean Byrne from Dublin are in court. The trial opens on Monday next week.
All right, so it's just Aaron out of your family.
Just Aaron and Dean Byrne, yes, but
right.
They're very much involved, our family, and some of what we've done on the campaign, and they are trying to create another narrative. But I think we have shown all along that the Bradys had no need to intimidate anyone, and any communications we had with anyone was always to seek just the truth, and we've always said that we just want the truth. So there's been no intimidation. It's actually not on the charge sheet intimidation. It's a tendency to pervert the course of justice in public law.
Right. Okay. So that's in the CCJ next Monday next week, the 8th. And if I can make it, I will go along. And if you're available, please go and listen.
Please do.
It would be good to pack out the court and just let people know, let the judges know, let the judiciary and everyone know that the public are aware of what's going on in this case and they want to hear the truth. So before we get into that, I just have a few notes here, Tony, for anybody who wasn't with us last week and didn't watch our 3 shows that we did. Now, I can't see you at the moment, Tony. I'm just reading a few notes I have on screen here. So if you need to hop in, just put in there. I can hear you. I just can't see you.
No problem.
So last Tuesday night we spoke about the car that was stolen and allegedly used in the robbery and the murder, and also we spoke about the murder itself, the murder scene. So in relation to the stolen car, we covered last week. And by the way, if you're looking on Facebook or YouTube, in the description below, you'll see links to the 3 shows we did last week, so you'll get all the detail there. But just to summarize what happened last week, in relation to the stolen car, no evidence whatsoever that Aaron had any involvement in this car being stolen in Clogherhead. No CCTV footage, no forensic evidence, nothing like that. Very little CCTV footage was harvested along the 90-kilometre route that Aaron and his friend Jimmy Flynn had allegedly travelled prior to robbing this car, again, allegedly. Only CCTV footage from 7 cameras was used in that 90-kilometre route. Only 7 cameras. Why was there not more footage available? That's a question Tony was raising last week. The CCTV footage that was used is absolutely useless, in my opinion, and you can look back in the show and see that for yourself. It's impossible to make anything out. The alleged times didn't make any sense. So sometimes it took them a very long distance to drive a certain leg of the journey. and other legs were driven at impossibly fast speeds. So, and because of the way that the street light reflected on a car roof, it was said in court that this had to be Jimmy Flynn's car. But then, some while later, we see again in the CCTV that another car passed with a very similar distribution of light on the roof. So again, as far as evidence goes, it's absolutely useless as far as I would say. Then going on to the murder scene, no evidence of any kind linking Aaron to the crime scene. There were no weapons found, no proceedings of the proceeds, of the robbery recovered. The credit union worker, one credit union worker, identified a woman as the driver of the getaway car, and she has been completely forgotten about. Garda Joe Ryan, who was alongside Garda Donohoe when he was shot, described the gunman who shot Garda Donohoe as being 6'1" in height, with his accomplice with him being about 5'7". So Aaron Brady is 5'7". So, you know, a Garda with 20 odd years experience should know the difference between 5'7" and 6'1". Aaron Brady is 5'7". So if he got his heights wrong, for example, and the gunman was Aaron Brady being 5'7", well, his accomplice would be about 5'1", you know, no bigger than the height of the car. So again, doesn't make any sense there. There was DNA evidence from an unknown source found in the Garda car. And this was not matching Aaron Brady's nor any of the alleged gang that Aaron was part of. So, you know, that's another question unanswered. There were footprints and cigarette butts found, again, at the murder scene. Again, no match to Aaron or any of the alleged gang. And another credit union worker said that one of the men spoke in a Dublin accent, yet Aaron or any of the alleged gang have Dublin accents. Then the burn site, so after the robbery and the murder, the car was burnt out. But it was burnt out 33 kilometers away, and the car was driven down a very heavily policed area. Again, just doesn't make any sense to go where they went and to drive for 33 kilometers to burn a car out. No conclusive CCTV footage of the cars. Eyewitness testimony doesn't stack up with the prosecution case regarding the number of cars involved and the times. One eyewitness mentioned that the BMW had blue lights. This BMW that passed, but yet the accused's car, the BMW alleged to being that of Jimmy Flynn, had no blue lights, and the judge kind of just dismissed this. Said it was just the witness's perception at the time. He mustn't have seen blue lights. The time taken for Aaron to supposedly make his way from the burn site back to where he lived to shower and change and get ready, and then to head out and be in his girlfriend's house. Again, the times are nearly impossible. You just couldn't do it. Then we spoke about the gang, this fictitious gang that Aaron was part of, and that there was 5 members in this gang, including one blonde-haired woman who was the getaway driver. Yet no mention of this woman ever since. She's like disappeared, even though prosecution disgracefully mentioned 3 different women in the course of the trial who were friends or related to Aaron in one way or another. Previous girlfriend, I'm not sure if it's this lady or another, one of which was actually battling cancer at the time. You know, just disgraceful, just muddying, trying to make it look as if there was somebody there, but no evidence whatsoever in relation to any of these women. So this gang is kind of falling apart now, with all the various friends and acquaintances that Aaron, with all the various friends and acquaintances of Aaron that they tried to paint in this fictitious gang. Nobody else has yet been jailed for the robbery or murder. Then we spoke about the American witnesses and the star witness, Daniel Cahill. So just a little bit about this man. You'll see it on last week's show again. He's a friend of Alan Ryan, part of the 32 from the Ryan gang and involved in the Real IRA. Also, he's part of the 32 county sovereignty movement. He was dealing drugs in Ireland. He was a friend of Dean Evans, who murdered Peter Butterly. Daniel Cahill was illegal in America. He had a restraining order against him for his involvement in a machete attack against some lads over in the US. And when he was found in America, he was found with cannabis and steroids. So that's a little bit about the history of this man, the star witness that testifies that Aaron, one night after 14 hours drinking, said to him, that yeah, he did kill this guard, and that's the extent of it. Never knew him or had any involvement with him prior to that. And then the other witness that gave evidence, both American witnesses, by the way, who gave evidence, didn't do so in Ireland here in court, did so remotely from the States. And this caused a big problem with the other witness, Molly Staunton, who never corroborated what she said in her statement, which was that she had heard or Aaron had said to her that he had killed Garda Donohoe. So she wouldn't say that. She didn't say that in court. And there was somebody out of shot in her apartment that said something along the lines of, just tell them what you're meant to tell them. Tony will clarify exactly what was said. But again, this was interference with this witness, and we don't know who that person was that was interfering with Molly Staunton. So I think that's about the gist. Tony, I'll just pass it back to you to see if there's anything major I missed there.
No,
but I think
that's a very good summary. It's sort of what we covered last week. Again, as I said, we could have half an hour's podcast on several points and expand on each one of those that you've mentioned there. But I think you've summarized it very well. And normally I'm talking about it, and listening to that there, it's I'll not say it's nice to hear it back, but when you hear someone else run through the litany of it's cold evidence that has our son in jail for 40 years, it's heart-wrenching. It's very hard to listen to. It's and we, same as when we wake up first thing every morning, last thing before we go to sleep at night, we wonder, how is this possible? And definitely listening to you running through it there, and I know, and indeed I'm sure some of the people just following Aaron's campaign know some in-depth details about the bullet points you've mentioned there. And that's where we are, and it's thanks to yourself and other people that's taken us on board and try and get Aaron's story out there to the public so questions can be asked. Since we've sat with you, Stephen, last week, the 3 nights last week, our Aaron's social media sites, although they were being shadow banned, have absolutely been hammered. And we can't get any viewers now at all. Friends, family aren't getting any of Aaron's posts. Right. And people are coming up to us in the street. It happened, Caroline, a couple of times today, and saying we're not getting any. How's Aaron? And that's the question. A lot of people now are not afraid to ask how Aaron's doing, what's happening, any word on the appeal. And no, nobody's seeing the posts. And we've put out a couple of videos and on all the platforms. So again, we have to ask the question: if we weren't telling the truth, there would be no need to suppress us. So the reason why the Irish state, the DPP and An Garda Siochana are suppressing Aaron's campaign is because we are telling the truth. Mm-hmm. And Aaron Brady was framed, our son was framed for a robbery and a murder he had absolutely nothing to do with. So thanks for your summary there, Stephen. Very good. And yeah, I think that just about covers it. The only caveat I would put with it, there's a lot more. You know.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And we have what do we have from last week? We have 6 hours. I think we did over the 3 nights. We did 2 hours each night. We have 6 hours there. If people want to go back and have a listen to that. And I'll just state here from the outset as well. Like, I know I went to a presentation. When was it again, Tony? That presentation.
I think you said it was September, but I have a feeling it was November 2020.
November 2020. Yes, I drove on and listened to this presentation that you gave for a packed room, and everything you've said, the Brady family still stands over to this day. You just added to it, and I'll just say, because for people that aren't familiar with this case and have just read the mainstream media, they think this case is open and closed, like it's done, like your son is guilty. There's lots of evidence, but really, after having met yourself, spoken with some of your family members, having attended a presentation, having spent time in the court for the original trial, I mean, like, I'm very confident in saying that Aaron had nothing to do whatsoever with this. And, I'm really kind of putting my reputation on the line somewhat, because there's a lot of people, the media have done a great job in painting your son in a certain light. And for anyone who says, oh, Aaron Brady is this or that, or he's done this or that. That's totally fine. Like we've spoke about in the very first podcast, other issues that Aaron might have had, much less serious than taking someone's life. So you can't. We're talking about this crime that he's jailed for 40 years, and I'm very confident, looking at all the evidence that's out there, that your son had absolutely nothing to do with it. And I would encourage anyone else, if you're not sure, look back at those podcasts or those videos, those live streams we did last week, and make up your own mind then, and forget about what they've said, because there's something bigger going on behind the scenes here. There is a reason. I know you're not interested in trying to find out at the moment why exactly this Garda was killed and who did it. Your first objective here is to clear your son's name, but there is something else going on here. I'm sure there's something else bigger going on behind the scenes here. Right, so let's get into it here. Tonight we're going to talk about this case, that this allegation against Aaron, and tell us about this other man that the case is against as well. Where are we starting here? I'll leave it to you.
Yep. So this intimidation case has been hovering over the case even during the trial. And the first part of it was the release of a video clip of a young man called Ronan. He was given a statement against Aaron in New York. And it was recorded, and it was on a laptop. And there were some clips recorded of that statement being taken. Ronan with 3 members of An Garda Siochana in New York. And it was released onto social media.
Right.
And this was seen as one of the most abhorrent pieces of intimidation and contempt of court ever witnessed in the Irish state.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, Stephen, go ahead.
This man, Ronan, can you tell us anything about what was said in this clip that was released? You've said it was recorded in the police station.
Yes, so it'd be same as watching a video on your laptop, and you record a piece of that video with your phone.
Right.
And then the clip that was recorded with the phone was released.
But sure, like this was done in a police station. Aaron wasn't in the police station.
No, he wasn't in the police. But you have to understand that the video of the interview was on a laptop. Because you can see the laptop, and then the laptop was recorded. Now, we can't say 100% sure when the recording was done, but the issue is how it was released onto the social media sites. That's very much what we are interested in, because I suppose the bottom line is here, and the most important point and valid point that will be brought to the courts over the coming weeks. Again, we have to be careful because it's not an upcoming case. But this young man had spoken to Aaron's solicitors here in Ireland via phone or a Zoom call 10 days before this was released. So the bottom line is here, the people who benefited most from this video clip being released was An Garda Siochana and the DPP. We most certainly would have wanted and wished to see Ronan in court.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, because again, as we'll see as we go through just some of the little snippets of evidence, and again, there's a lot more behind the scenes and what have you. Ronan was very much forced into and coerced into making a statement. He had serious issues himself in respect, again, drug dealing, extradition warrants made disappear, very serious assault here in the Cooley Peninsula. We did touch on it a little when we went through the American witnesses. So again, we'll have another look at it tonight. But one message I would like people to take away is this release of this video clip onto the social media sites was highly detrimental to Aaron's case.
Right. Okay. Let me just ask you 2 more quick things on that. Maybe you can't at this stage because this case is pending. It's coming up next week. Can you tell us anything about the content of that video that was released and what social media platforms it was released onto?
It was released onto all the social media. I think it was initially released onto WhatsApp. It went on to YouTube.
Whose platform? Like, who owned the platform it was released on? who owned
We don't know.
Okay.
That was never. Now I'm going to say I was arrested. I went by appointment to the Garda station in Carrickmacross, and was interviewed by Detective Woods. And during the course of that, we spoke of the release of this video onto the social media sites. And he showed me quite clearly that day that as far as the An Garda Siochana were aware, we were actually watching CCTV footage of Court 11 on the CCJ. We were actually all in court at the time this video was released onto the social media platforms.
Right.
So, and again, there was no benefit. Obviously, it just totally detrimental to Aaron's case that this was released on. And this young man himself is of the opinion that An Garda Siochana, and I have spoken to him, I have a number of recorded conversations with him, and he is of the opinion that it was An Garda Siochana that released the video onto the social media platform, because there was such a hoo-ha and a furore about it. But again, if we look at it, the bottom line is here, this young man, if he was a bona fides, and if there was any grain of truth in his statement, there was no reason why he couldn't have came to court and give his evidence, because he was going to have to come forward, give evidence and speak anyway. And as we have always said, if someone was coming forward to give evidence and they are speaking the truth, so be it. But our mantra has been, and the reason we have worked tirelessly behind the scenes is because we know, and as I explained last week, when Aaron read these statements and seen the videos of these statements being taken, like his immediate and initial reaction was, Daddy, these people are telling lies. That never happened. That's complete nonsense. That's completely made up.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say once again, I suppose, when we go into this intimidation, and if we thought for 1 second Aaron had anything to do with the modern robbery at Closure Credit Union, we wouldn't be doing this. If we thought for 1 second that these people were telling the truth, how could we ever consider coming on a platform like this, or continually, we've released scores of videos on Aaron's platforms about Ronan, about Christopher Morton, Anthony Maguire. These people, drug dealers, legal immigrants and criminals who give statements against Aaron. And we've laid it out bare. It's all there in official documents. All these people had serious issues. And we have proof that the actual evidence they give is a tissue of lies. And funny, today is the first time I looked at those little clips that was released of Ronan. I've a little bit of a job finding them, and I looked at them today. And I suppose just to comment on them, because you asked me what was on them, it's very interesting. He's speaking to Inspector Mark Phillips, who was the senior investigating officer at the time. And Mr. Phillips is trying to ascertain what Aaron Brady had told them. And Mr. Phillips asked him about the car. And Ronan actually said, they told me they stole a BMW. Well, we know the facts of the case is there was no stolen BMW. The vehicle was actually stolen was a Passat, allegedly, in the whole story. So the very beginning, like the entry point to the DPP storyboard and the entry point to at the theft of the Passat, the entry point and the exit point of the murder scene is totally flawed and incorrect. The whole burn site is a complete farce. It's totally farcical, as we've seen the evidence, as is Ronan's statement. So our plan, or not plan, but our it is a plan. We set out a plan. We had goals to find out why these people told lies. And I will repeat once again, if we thought for 1 second Ronan or Daniel Cahill was telling the truth, we would never have questioned them. We would had to accept it. But we know they were telling lies, and we know from words from their own mouths that they were put under severe pressure, duress, and threatened to make false statements. So that is what we're heading. That's the storm we are heading into on Monday. So that gives a little bit of the taste of it. I did send some slides to you. I suppose if we go through the slides, it might give better, correlates maybe a little bit better, because I do tend to shoot off into different directions, and I can lose people because there's so many aspects and points to each point.
Just a quick one there before we go on.
Yes, go ahead.
You mentioned 2 of the American witnesses that testified remotely, being Daniel Cahill and Molly Staunton. How many more? I know there was talk about other ones that gave statements, but how many others actually gave testimony during the trial?
Well, no one else gave testimony. 4 other people give statements. 4 other people give statements. Ronan, and then we had Christopher Morton and Anthony Maguire, who we've covered substantially. And that's it. So
for various reasons, they didn't want to put them on the stand, so their evidence wasn't basically taken into consideration.
No. So Ronan's evidence was withdrawn, and for no real reason other than they said this was some form of intimidation. But if we look at it again, and at the expense of repeating myself, Ronan was going to have to come and give evidence anyway. And if Ronan was telling the truth, I don't think it would have been that difficult to say, Ronan, listen, this is very important. You have a truth to tell here. The information you have will help us find the killer of Detective Garda Adrian Donohoe. And you allegedly came forward in America, but we'll have a look at that now very shortly. Your statement tells us that that Aaron Brady told you, and James Flynn told you that some involvement in this heinous crime. Surely you can still go ahead and give evidence, because you're going to have to go public anyway. So there was no proper reason given by the DPP why Ronan could not have given his testimony. Right. Christopher Morton, again, the man whom I personally blame for trying to get people, he was recruiting people to give evidence. He heard how severely and what depth Daniel Cahill, his friend Dan, as he called him in a text message to Mark Phillips, he said he was surprised at how intense his friend Dan's cross-examination was. And he sort of withdrew himself. But as I went through last week again, they found another out there. His statement was withdrawn because of the absolutely disgusting behaviour of Detective Bobby John Ogle and Pat Murray and Homeland Security agent Matt Katsky in their identification of Aaron with Christopher Morton. So, and then Anthony Maguire withdrew himself. He sent a letter from his lawyer in America and to Mark Phillips. And again, all this information was hidden now. This was a lot of it was found by happenstance and going through other files, looking for other information. Anthony Maguire withdrew himself. He said he was put under severe duress by An Garda Siochana to make a statement. And we know Anthony Maguire, £30,000 worth of cocaine, ammunition, marijuana. Like, the list is endless.
Yeah. Not a very high caliber of...
No, to say that there are suitable witnesses in a capital murder case, I think you couldn't, in your wildest dreams, you couldn't consider bringing these people forward as viable witnesses.
Yeah. Just a quick comment there. Somebody said to me last week, obviously, I'm not sure how much they know, or they're just reading the mainstream media or whatever, but they said, but sure, there was loads of lads over there, and they heard Brady saying he did it. And I said, well, why didn't they go to the police, or how did the police not get a hold of them? Because the police worked very hard to get a hold of anyone that would give testimony against her. So why didn't they? And he goes, but sure, they were illegal, they couldn't. And I said, even more so, like, if the police knew that, that's an easy win for the police. Boom, you fucking tell this story here, or tell us the story. Do you know what I mean? Like, if the police
and I did mention last week that Pat Murray went on the local radio station over there online and the newspaper, the Irish Central, and he offered S visas
Yeah.
And I'm actually just going to, I did show it last week, but I would like to show it again. And it sort of covers this point of what Aaron agreed to and what Aaron said yes to. I'm just for 1 second, Stephen. I'm just going to grab this photo.
I'll just deal with a comment here that came in. Someone here on YouTube. Stephen, you have to end this nonsense. 11 jurors found him guilty. He overstayed his visa in the USA. He admitted several times to several people that he had shot the cop. Now, I will just, and to put one more comment here as well, saying several gang members turned off their phones around the same time. It's clear-cut case. Unfortunately, that person there didn't tune into our shows last week where we addressed all those points. I would encourage you to do so because we did cover all that. And no, I mean, there's nothing to anything you said there. They turned off there was nothing unusual about their phones being turned off at certain periods of time.
It's actually silent. Nobody turned off their phones. There's no evidence whatsoever that anyone's phone was turned off. Again, he's talking about gang members. They only ever showed 3 phones.
Yeah, exactly. So
and then James Flynn's phone 18 times, Brendan Trainor's phone 18 times, Aaron's phone, I think 14 or 15 times between the 1st and the 28th of January. So it wasn't unusual. It was more usual.
It was more usual.
That is where the DPP toll lays.
Yeah, it's more usual for these alleged gang members to have their phone on silent around this time of the day. It's more over a month period. It was silent more so than it was not.
Than they were active. Yes.
You know, and it was active. Exactly.
So just to show you this here, this is from the 29th of August 2016. I did show this the other night, but for people who didn't see it, this is what we had to deal with. Can you see that there?
Hold it up.
Oh, sorry. Garda killer to become a dad. And you can see Aaron's picture. Actually, move that light there. If I move that away. Excuse me. Sorry, Stephen, for being so clumsy. US cops bust man who shot Adrian. And again, that is from 2017. That's when Aaron was arrested. But a lot of these are from 2016. That's from 2016. Garda killer set to become a dad. There was loads of that. Now, Aaron never denied that was him. He never denied it. He says, yes, I'm the man in the paper. I didn't do it. He did not go around woodlawns. Like, why, if it was annoying Aaron, as if we look at the human aspect of it, and he was going around saying it to people, he would never have went through what he went through the year of court. And obviously he wasn't treated particularly well when he was brought back from America. I'm not going to go into all that or pity and any of that, but obviously it wasn't very pleasant. And nobody, if they had committed it, I don't think they could have stood up to what he went through. So this is what Aaron admitted to. And this is what we had to, new baby, see? That's before he was arrested in America. And I showed you Pat Marry's newspaper article. Like, he even says cop killer in the Bronx. And then it goes to describe Aaron very, very clearly. So I think like that we do have a lot of trolls saying I was going around America. These people can still come forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If they're good citizens, like everything's there. So it's just sound bites and clickbait headlines like this. And it's obviously, like we always say, it's either a guard or one of the journalists that set up fake accounts and send that. Yeah. But that's the reason. And Aaron never hid in America. He's involved. He was working. We got Facebook and messages from him every day about machinery, diggers, pile drivers. Whatever the football was on in Gaelic Park, he was heavily involved in one of the clubs over there. So this idea that he was either hiding or ran away holds no water. And going around telling everybody holds no water either. The only people who came forward as criminals, drug dealers, and illegal immigrants. No, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Tony, I'll bring up this presentation. You've sent me a few slides here, okay?
Yeah. Let's see if I can get clicked in here too.
Yeah.
So I suppose this highlights, and this is the starting point of the intimidation saga, the story brought forward. And I'll just read it out. This is from the journal, the Irish News. So, a video of a witness telling Gardaí that he heard Aaron Brady admit to murdering a Garda was circulated on social media with text accusing the witness of being a tout or a rat. Now, as far as we are aware, that sort of happened down the lane after the video was released. I'm 99% sure that tout and rat wasn't put on it as it was released. I can't be 100% sure of that, but I do believe it's down the lane. In what the presiding judge described as the most outrageous contempt of court he had ever seen. And I'll just interject there. This is the man who's seen Molly Staunton being attacked when she was given her evidence.
Yeah.
And allowed Mark Phillips, Senior Investigating Officer Mark Phillips, and the Senior Prosecution Counsel, Brendan Graham, stand up the following morning and say, no, we're not investigating this. He's just a male friend of Molly Staunton's. And the fact that he was shouting at her, tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them, and then no more testimony. Again, this trying to balance the two, I would suggest the attack on a witness while they're actually giving their testimony to a court would be, it'd be up there along with this video release.
Well, of course.
After hearing from representatives, yeah, they made a wonderful showcase of it. Everybody knows that once something goes out on WhatsApp, Instagram, YouTube, you can't pull it back in. So on the Saturday after this happened, they pulled in representatives from WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, and a great fanfare was made of it. And I'm sure there was double time for all those involved on the Saturday. Yeah. But everybody would know that it was a completely pointless effort to try and withdraw. You can't withdraw something once it's been sent out into the ether. And there we are. White found he was powerless to prevent its dissemination on that platform and could make no order that would prevent it being circulated. So everybody knew that before anyone went into court that Saturday morning. It was, the judge said, a deliberate attempt to intimidate the witness. And again, that holds no water from our behalf, from Aaron's behalf, because the last thing we wanted to do was intimidate Ronan. We had no need to do so. And obviously, I will repeat once again, it was detrimental to Aaron's case to in any way intimidate Ronan. And Ronan was never intimidated and by us. It was actually, and Ronan believes himself, and I believe personally, it was An Garda Siochana. And Ronan actually names the detective that was originally from Castleblaney and is now in Dundalk. And Ronan believes it was him who released the video clips onto social media.
Tony, it should be very easy, you'd imagine, for the prosecution to get an order from the court to investigate who owned these various social media profiles, you know, where this video was uploaded. Has that ever been done? Can it be done?
I don't believe it has.
You'd imagine that the guards, you often hear that they try and find out the identity.
Yeah, the origin of it. When it first went on to social media, well, it seems that wasn't possible. Now we'll know, and hopefully in the next 2 weeks, we'll see how that develops.
Yeah, okay.
But definitely, no, there's been no direct time. The only thing I can say is Detective Peter Woods, suggested to me during the course of when he was taking my statement in Carrickmacross Garda station that it was released when we were sitting in the courtroom. Mm-hmm. So that's as much as I know about it at the moment. Obviously, we'll be more enlightened next week.
Yeah, okay.
And the same video appeared on YouTube, Facebook, which were unable to delete it and prevent it from being put up again. So again, that was all just a complete show and a bluster theatre because everybody knew going in Thursday morning the video had been released either on the Thursday or the Friday. It was gone. There was no, that bell was rung. There was no not hearing it again. It was out there in the ether, and that was it.
Yeah, exactly.
So the video was about this young man here. And as I have said, 2 weeks before the release of the video, this man spoke to Aaron's legal team. And Aaron's senior counsel, Michael O'Higgins, did tell Judge Michael White that the event of the release of the video on social media was detrimental to Aaron's case. So it's not only us saying that. A senior counsel like Michael O'Higgins was fully aware that Aaron's legal team had spoken to this young man. And that he had told a story about how he had been intimidated by An Garda Siochana and threatened by Senior Investigating Officer Mark Phillips and Detective Paul Gill. So any suggestion that it suited Aaron or Aaron's case, again, saying like it holds no water. And then that text, I think it may be an Instagram. This is Ronan, and he's contacted my daughter, and you can see there, tell your dad to call me. So he actually made contact with us. It was Ronan who initiated any contact I had with him, and I've had a number of conversations with him since that, which I've recorded, and we'll see how next week progresses. And you'll be able, hopefully the public will be able to hear on the recordings. I tell Ronan in no uncertain terms, Ronan, I am recording you. I don't trust you as far as I would throw you. And every word we speak together, I will record. So he was fully aware he was being recorded, and he relayed to me what happened with his interactions with An Garda Siochana. And indeed, those interactions, we did briefly look at this last week on the American Witnesses, and we'll just have another look at it here again. And Ronan has gone over this story a number of occasions. I've recorded him, and he has given this same story about his arrest to James Flynn. And at each time, the story remains the same. So we suggest that Ronan is telling the truth here of actually what happened. And if we go to the next slide, Stephen, you'll be able to see. So the yellow box there, so this is a text from Ronan, and this is his interaction and how he became involved in giving a statement against Aaron. And again, I suppose to lead into this, all of the public will be fully aware that the DPP, An Garda Siochana, and the mainstream media, each and every one of them, said that 5 people came forward. Well, I can tell the Irish people, nobody came forward. They all had issues, and Daniel Cahill was arrested. He was caught with steroids and marijuana, we know that. And here we have Ronan being arrested. And his text messages is as follows. They arrested me at my job in front of a whole bar full of people. I lost my job. They held me handcuffed with 7 cars of police and told me I was going home. I'll never see my wife and child again on some bullshit story about Tommy. And the second man's name is covered up there. Tommy case. That was a fake paper. So again, this is an extradition warrant he's speaking about here. Now, according to Ronan all along, again, when you're running with the fox and hunting with the hound, you can't tell all things to all people. So Ronan is suggesting thus, and has told us on numerous occasions, there was no extradition warrant, that the case had been sort of finished. Ronan's father was involved in the assault also. So, again, who do you believe? But this is what happened, Ronan. This happened in America. Kept me handcuffed to the side of the cell, busted into my house with no warrant to search it, made an example of me over here, took my interview for my 10-year green card, and after that, because I told them when I got the lawyer, I want my statement taken off this. It is a forced, fake statement. The guard basically wrote it himself. And so for that, they took my file from immigration because I wouldn't help them with the AB case. So that's obviously Aaron Brady's case. And I was trying to expose them. So
Right.
there's no doubt. And obviously, a little bit of history that again that's documented about Ronan. He was an illegal immigrant because he was caught with drugs with intent to supply in 2012 in Carlingford in County Louth. He was involved in this assault on a gentleman again on the Cooley Peninsula in 2012. So there's no issue with the fact that he was an illegal immigrant, and as the immigration expert said, his feet shouldn't have touched the ground. He should have been deported from America on the spot. So the document to the right, this is Senior Investigating Officer Mark Phillips, and this is his take on their initial interactions with Ronan. And Mr. Phillips met Ronan on August 31st, 2017 at his place of work. And again, just when we do bring up August 31st, 2017, none of these people came forward. They only started looking for witnesses after Aaron was arrested. So this is all post Aaron being arrested and deported for the traffic offences and ramming the cars in Dundalk. So it's interesting insofar as all these people, if Aaron was going around telling everyone, someone would have told an American police officer. Like a lot of, and we had this issue with Daniel Cahill, and indeed Ronan, if he wanted to tell the story, these were barmen. And Daniel Cahill lauded how he was so close to a number of NYPD members. And yet, for some reason, this wonderful news he had about the murder of a policeman here in Ireland, he never thought to mention it to his NYPD friends and very close associates. He went to great lengths, and all those in the jury and those of us in the court will remember how Mr. Cahill told us how close a friendship he had with a great number of NYPD. So, again, a strange story.
Yeah.
So he asked Rowe, was he willing to be interviewed? Ronan agreed, and an appointment was made the following day, and Ronan subsequently cancelled the meeting. So in October 2017, members of An Garda Siochana returned to New York hoping to interview Ronan if he was willing, if he had changed his mind. On arrival, they were apparently informed that HSI, Homeland Security, that they had discovered an immigration issue affecting Ronan. They had a warrant for his arrest. Homeland Security informed Mr. Phillips that once the matters in relation to the warrant had been processed, that Ronan would be asked if he wished to speak to the members. So they're actually telling us there the American authorities and An Garda Siochana collaborated to sit Ronan down and say, Ronan, we're going to sort out your paperwork in respect of your extradition warrant, and you're not going to go back to Ireland to face jail for GBH, and you're not going to go back to Ireland for the distribution of drugs if you give a statement against Aaron Brady. So it's there in black and white in this official document, an affidavit created by Aaron's solicitor. Upon arrest, Ronan was agreeable to be interviewed, but wanted proof An Garda Siochana were present in New York. Detective Sergeant Gill, as he now is, knew Ronan, travelled to the point of the arrest to confirm An Garda Siochana presence. Excuse me. Garda Gill is very interesting insofar as Garda Gill was stationed in Dundalk before he got his promotion to detective, and he was involved in arresting Ronan for his drugs violation in Carlingford in 2012. Garda Gill was also involved in Ronan's assault and Ronan's father's assault of Tommy in Carlingford in the Cooley Peninsula, also in 2012. And again, it's difficult to just get into the nuances of these things, but obviously Garda Gill would have been fully aware of the existence of the extradition warrant. So if we look at those first two paragraphs from SIO Phillips, he telling us he spoke to Ronan in August 2017. They went back to America in October and were told by Homeland Security that the extradition warrant existed. So they were telling people who should have known. So obviously, there would have been daily contact between Detective Paul Gill, Detective Mark Phillips, and Homeland Security. So we have to believe that, well, we know from these two paragraphs that the Garda in Dundalk did not tell Homeland Security about Ronan's extradition warrant, about his drugs, and about his assault.
Yeah.
Or else Ronan would have been extradited.
Yeah.
So that's where that goes. And I'll just, upon arrest, Ronan was agreeable. Yeah. It appears, again, Ronan was released immediately after the interview. This was unusual. Ronan was a fugitive. A European arrest warrant had issued with respect to an alleged offence under Section 4 of the Non-Fatal Offences Against the Person Act 1997. The offence has been alleged to have taken place in October 2011. Rowe had allegedly attacked a man in a bar with a snooker ball in his face. It would appear that members of the investigation team were unaware of the charge and only learned of it when it was brought to their attention in November that a warrant for the arrest for Ronan was outstanding, which is totally, well, it's just unbelievable. You can't believe it. It's not fact. The guards could not have not known about Ronan's arrest warrant. They knew about Ronan's extradition warrant, arrest warrant, and they targeted him.
Yeah.
And then when they got him and arrested him, as Ronan has told us, they said, you will never see your wife and child again. And Ronan has told us that, and he's told us there in that text message, and he's told us in a number of other messages. And just the next slide just confirms he was found with 10 bags of cannabis, worth almost €250. Brought shame on his family with his actions, and Dock District Court was told last week. Ronan, with an address, admitted having drugs for sale or supply in the village on July the 26th. So he's a drug dealer. Mm-hmm. And he cannot be seen as suitable for a witness, to be a witness in a capital murder trial. And the last little one there is Carlingford man acquitted in charge. Now that's Ronan's dad, and he was acquitted of the charge, and Ronan took the rap. But Ronan absconded, and that is why the European arrest warrant was issued for him. And that European arrest warrant was used as leverage. That is intimidation. That is coercion. And that none of that has been carried out by the Brady family. It has been carried out by the Irish authorities. Those in very high authority. I think we had a quick look at it last week, Stephen. People at the high ends of Homeland Security Office, Raymond Briscoe, senior figure in the DPP in Ireland, all were involved in making the arrest warrant, the extradition warrant, disappear. So it's not Brady's that's intimidating people. It's not Aaron Brady. It's members of An Garda Siochana.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then Ronan's, it just gets more and more bizarre. So again, I just put that up again. So he was contacting my daughter, Loreen, tell your dad to call me. So Ronan wasn't contacting me. And this is 2 years ago on St. Patrick's night. And this happened while I was asleep. As you can see, it's 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning. And Ronan was actually being accosted by a number of members of An Garda Siochana in the streets in New York. And again, you can just see his text here. I met guards in the Mean Fiddler and they acted like kids standing on my shoes. When I told them my name, they wanted inside. There's little bits missing it. So I told them to stop. Yeah, you can see it there. And they left. Now, I have downloaded those videos and of the guard shouting at Ronan, I want to buy you a drink, Ronan. And Ronan's saying there, these people should be fired. And he sent another video. That's him. Get him fired. This is none of his business. And his girl provoking a witness. Take them to court. They said they would beat me up. Tell the media the guards are trying to start a fight with me. So this is what we are dealing with. And we've kept this. Ronan asked me not to release those videos, and I didn't. But we'll see how that develops next week. I do have the videos, and obviously there's the text messages.
Yeah.
But we have the members of An Garda Siochana on the street in New York, and their interactions with Ronan. And the female, you can see her quite clearly, slaps the phone. Ronan's recording her, and she slaps the phone out of Ronan's hand. So this is where the intimidation is. Brady's never approached anyone or never intimidated anyone whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that's Ronan's situation. There's a lot more to it, Stephen, and hopefully we'll be able to bring it to you as the trial unfolds. Do want to be just careful with what we're releasing. We did mention Matt Katsky a lot last week, and this is a transcript of another Ronan text message with James Flynn, and just a couple of bits from it. That Matt fella, so that's Matt Katsky, the Homeland Security agent. That Matt fella is a wanker. He took my file. We looked stupid going to the plaza, and they told us Homeland Security took it because of an ongoing case. Ruined my legal status because I wouldn't help them. So, like, it's they can talk all they want. They tried to take my daughter from me, and after I found out they couldn't do nothing to me, I got a lawyer on them, and he basically told them to go fuck themselves and throw my statement out because they did everything illegal. So there's any amount of stuff and all the recordings I have with Ronan. So we'll see how that develops over the course of next week. But the reason why this is important is we must get.
We lost Tony.
It was totally detrimental to Aaron Brady's case. So we move on then to Mr. Cahill. As you can see there, he was Daniel Cahill, responsible for putting Aaron Brady behind bars. And again, there is some issues that the Bradys tried to contact Daniel Cahill. And in the next clip, the next slide, and I think last week when we were looking through the American witnesses and their interactions and their statements, we did, Stephen, give each witness a number. Ronan was witness 60, I think. Christopher Morton was witness 64. Matt Flaherty is witness 66. And Matt Flaherty is another witness, the drug dealer and the drug addict that was looking for a holiday in Ireland. He was another witness who gave a statement, but they were never going to bring him. So they all had witness numbers. So when Aaron got his book of evidence in August 2019, he had these people. And Anthony Maguire was witness number 62. And Anthony Gerard Maguire, when Aaron seen his statement, again, not going to go into the details of the statement, but it's just, I suppose the basis of it was St. Patrick's Day. He went into a bar on St. Patrick's Day and he was drinking water. He was just getting a check changed. And he alleged someone he thinks was Aaron Brady was standing talking about, do you think you have what it takes to kill someone? So this is but again, we'll, after next week, be more than happy to show those statements, I think, Stephen. So here we are. And the important bit is here that my daughter Sonia sent a message to Daniel Cahill on the 11th of August 2018. And that date is significant because nobody in Ireland, outside of maybe 3 or 4 of members of An Garda Siochana, nobody knew that Daniel Cahill was going to be the star witness, because Daniel Cahill was only arrested about less than 3 weeks prior to this. So he was not in the book of evidence. So the reason Sonia sent this message to Daniel Cahill: hey Dano, Sonia Brady here. I am Aaron Brady's sister. Myself and my dad would really appreciate it if you could chat to us for 5 minutes over the phone. We understand the problem this situation has caused many people, but I promise from the bottom of my heart, all the Bradys want is the truth. I don't think that's particularly intimidating. However, if it suits, we would be available to speak to you at any time that suits you. Kind regards, Sonia. Now, the crux of the matter is here, why were the Bradys trying to contact Daniel Cahill? As soon as Aaron seen Anthony Gerard Maguire in the book of evidence, he said, Daddy, please, if you contact Daniel Cahill will be able to confirm that himself, Daniel Cahill, Anthony Maguire, Ado Cairns and Davy Cushion attacked Aaron in his apartment on 28 First Street on St. Patrick's Day 2015. And Daniel Cahill, they beat Aaron to a pulp. And the reason for that attack was Aaron's friend and Aaron were falsely sort of accused by another friend of having some sort of relationship with a girl who was staying in the same apartment block as Aaron. And that girl was Ado Cairns, the gentleman you see there. That was his girlfriend. And these men kicked the door in Aaron's apartment, attacked Aaron. Daniel Cahill threatened to cut Aaron's toes off with a Stanley knife. Now, this is facts that Daniel Cahill denied when questioned about on the road. Now, he got himself into a little bit of a tangle during his testimony, and he admitted, I think it was Davy Cushion who stole Aaron's phone that night. And Daniel Cahill did admit on the road that he did arrange for the return of the phone. He knew nothing about the incident initially, but he was involved in the brokering of returning the phone. So the reason the Bradys contacted Daniel Cahill was for Daniel Cahill to give us evidence that Anthony Maguire's story, that he didn't really know Aaron Brady and that he only overheard Aaron Brady saying this in the bar. We wanted Daniel Cahill to be our witness. Right. So again, no intimidation of Daniel Cahill whatsoever. There are other attempts to contact Daniel Cahill's partner, and that's ongoing. And there was some attempts made to contact Daniel Cahill, some of Daniel Cahill's family. But the Bradys never directly spoke to anyone in Daniel Cahill's family, or there was never, ever any threats put on Daniel Cahill. And, excuse me, the reason why the attack on Aaron is so important, because Daniel Cahill's assertions that he was having sort of cozy chats with Aaron while Aaron was very drunk, again, would hold no water, because Aaron despised this man and he was afraid of him, as were a lot of people in Yonkers. I think that can be clarified. Again, like your friend with the text message, loads of people have told us different things about Daniel Cahill. But again, we'll just have to wait and see how that pans out over the next 2 or 3 weeks. So that is the reason why the Bradys contacted Daniel Cahill. The dates are vitally important, because when that text message was sent, nobody knew Daniel Cahill was in the book of evidence.
Including yourselves?
Including ourselves, yes. We had no idea. The reason we were contacting Daniel Cahill was to get information that Anthony Maguire was one of the 4 people that attacked Aaron that night in 28 First Street, just off McLean Avenue.
Yeah.
And then when we did discover that Daniel Cahill was a witness, we most certainly, and Aaron was able to give us some idea of Daniel Cahill's background. And if we go on to the next slide, again, it's something you mentioned in your summing up of our previous the previous podcast we done last week, Stephen, we found out about Daniel Cahill's, you can see there's escape from the clutches of the real IRA. That was an article written by Patrick O'Connell, I think it is. It is him, yeah. And he tried to sanitize a podcast that Cahill created at his business in New York. He owns a bar now, Mr. Cahill. And he told us that he was stabbed 5 or 6 times before he left Dublin. So that's the reason he left Dublin. And we have a fair idea, as do a number of journalists, because I've spoken to people in the area where Daniel Cahill came from, and they have told me that they have spoken to members of the mainstream media and told them exactly some of Daniel Cahill's activities prior to him being stabbed and made to leave Ireland. So again, this is another reason. If someone stabs you 5 or 6 times in Ireland, you go to America, I would suggest Daniel Cahill is in no hurry back to Dublin to meet with man with knife once again.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only through our investigations that we found this link with the Ryan gang. They're from there with the 32 county sovereignty flag with Alan Ryan. And it is quite important, that picture with the 3 men. Daniel Cahill's in the middle. He's his right arm over the gentleman with the white T-shirt. That is Dean Evans. Dean Evans, just get this right now. Yeah, 20. This picture was taken. It's actually on it there. Yeah, this picture was taken about 20 days after, about 2 weeks after Detective Garda Adrian Donohoe was shot and murdered. And during the course of his testimony, Daniel Cahill said that he didn't hear about it or he didn't know about it. I suggest if you look at Daniel Cahill's friends and associates, the murder of a Garda would be very high on the agenda. It's only just a silly lie he told, but that's nonetheless. But 20 days after that picture was taken there, Dean Evans shot and murdered Peter Butterly in a car park in County Meath. A crime he has since admitted and was sentenced for. But Dean Evans was on the run. And we discovered then through cross-examination of Mr. Cahill that Homeland Security had called to Daniel Cahill's apartment looking for Dean Evans in America. So now we have a man who Homeland Security and An Garda Siochana believe will harbour a terrorist, a known terrorist, and he still remained in America.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the leverage is there. The information we have behind the scenes. And An Garda Síochána have reams of information on Daniel Cahill, his association and his activities prior to going to America. And again, as the trial continues next week and over the coming weeks, we'll be able to relay some of that. And then, of course, we have the cannabis and the steroids. We were aware that the Daniel Cahill may have had some involvement in the drug trade in the bars in New York. And obviously he was caught with cannabis and steroids in his apartment on the day he was arrested. So that is sort of Daniel Cahill's story. Again, that will unfold, and the interactions and the investigations we undertook to find out little snippets of information will become more apparent as the weeks move forward next week, as the trial moves forward next week and the week after, and as it runs its course. So there'll be much more information in respect of Daniel Cahill's activities.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Daniel Cahill. And then the last one, we're just going to look at is Molly Staunton. A capital murder trial took place against the background of intimidation and interference. The witnesses and their families subjected to threats and targeted using social media. Molly Staunton, who told the trial that she heard Brady admit that he had shot a cop, received a death threat on Snapchat within hours of completing her testimony. The journal and the journalist who wrote that know full well who sent that Snapchat message to Molly Staunton. Absolutely nothing got to do with the Bradys. It's an ex-boyfriend and someone who may very well have been used as leverage to when the Gardaí and Homeland Security went to Molly Staunton, where she was living with her granny. That abusive relationship and some of the activities that happened within that relationship, assaults, money theft, and what have you, we say may very well have been used as a leverage against Molly Staunton to come forward. And then if we go to the next, it just gets more and more bizarre. So any suggestion that the Bradys had scared Molly Staunton, I think, can be wiped away when we see Molly Staunton made a number of attempts to contact Aaron's wife and Aaron's family on all these social media platforms. And that's just some of them there, where she friend requests and has requested to follow you. So again, might give some insight into Molly Staunton's mindset. It would be very strange for Molly Staunton to be sending friend requests to the family of someone she was after given evidence to send away for 40 years for a murder. So it may give a little bit of an insight in there. And again, a campaign of intimidation against key witnesses was a constant feature throughout the Adrian Donohoe murder trial. So we've explained some of them there, and none of the incidents that happened in any way benefited Aaron's defence.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it had the total opposite effect, and they used these incidents as a tool or as a weapon against us. And if we look at what happened to Molly Staunton, they could quite easily have found out who that man was and brought it to the judge, and we could have got that man on the stand, question him, what did you mean? Tell them what you're fucking supposed to tell them. Yeah. What did you mean, no more testimony? What is all this about? The man was directing Molly Staunton's testimony, and we're being accused of intimidation.
Mm. No.
And a man shouting at a witness slammed down the laptop, and the laptop continued to record the audio. And right. You could definitely hear a physical altercation between Molly and the mystery man, Seamus. And we only knew his name was Seamus because she told him, Seamus, go away, you're always terrorising me.
Right.
So, Garda Siochana.
Is that the extent now? So you've mentioned three names, I think.
Yes.
Ronan, Flynn, is it? Daniel Cahill and Mark Staunton. So is that the extent of the witnesses that Aaron or the Brady family have allegedly intimidated?
Yes. That's it. As far as I know, it's just Ronan and Daniel Cahill that are in the book of evidence thus far. We're not sure what they're going to do or what they're going to try and suggest, but it's just, and again, I suppose coming near the end of this podcast, we have to look at the reality of the situation. Aaron Brady is now serving 40 years in prison. What benefit is it to the Irish state to spend large sums of money and resources to bring a case for a tendency to pervert the course of justice? So let's say Aaron Brady may get 2 years if there was any reality to the charges. Why? We have to, and we must ask the Irish public and those watching now, why would An Garda Siochana, and they have a list of several members of prison officers and An Garda Siochana, they're going to swamp it and I'm witness to it now. I seen what they've done in Aaron's case. Took loads and loads of members of and then these headlines that there was 130 witnesses and 125 of them were people. Yes, I took that from Garda Stephen Kerr. I give it to Garda Tony Brady, and then I took it back on Tuesday the 25th of August and took it back from Garda Brady and give it to little bits of evidence and statements and CCTV footage. All a complete theatre. And that is what we are going to see next week. But what they will attempt to do, and this is our reasoning why the Irish state is moving ahead with next Monday, to create a storm of clickbait headlines we're going to see loads more of this.
Yeah.
Loads more of this in the next few weeks. They'll have the Brady family pictures on it. They'll have Sonia's picture up in the newspaper because she sent a message to Daniel Cahill. But hopefully we can show that what we were trying to do was seek the truth.
Yeah. I
There
mean,
was
it's
never any other motive in anything the Bradys have ever done other than to seek the truth and to waste time, energy, and the state's money on, excuse the language, a shit show like this that is of absolutely no consequence to anyone. It has no consequence to any case. But we'll see how it develops over the next couple of weeks. I suppose to just try and keep us busy. And we just have to be strong. We have to be able to stay with it. And hopefully we can do a live each day in respect of as the case goes on and try and again, I may very well have difficulty getting into the court because if we just go, I think it's the last slide, Stephen. Yeah, that's just, and the next one, that's just another bit about Molly. If I just read this out, the Director of Public Prosecution is concerned that a campaign on behalf of Aaron Brady, who murdered Detective Garda Adrian Donohoe, has released transcripts on social media along with dubious commentary that could be contempt of court. So this is Brendan Graham, and the newspapers have mentioned that Aaron's campaign release transcripts. So I did release some transcripts of my son's trial, of the evidence that was used against him. And the Irish state see that as some sort of a contempt of court. Now, it's only it could be of contempt of court. Now, they haven't come back to me. I've made a number of videos about this nonsense, and I have said quite clearly I'll go and speak to in any Garda station if they have any issues with what I released. And again, if your viewers, if you want to go and look at all the thousands of column inches that's been written and put out on social media about Aaron's case, you will find very, very few references to the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. We've created 400 videos. I've called this man here a liar, Brendan Graham. I've told the country that he purged himself. And I've shown quite clearly where he has told lies. I showed where he was disgusting behaviour with a young girl who was receiving cancer treatment. There's numerous times where Brendan Graham was absolutely and totally disgusting during the court and got away with and I've called him out on numerous occasions, but no one's come back. And if I just read on, a Dublin Court of Appeal heard yesterday, Brendan Graham, Senior Counsel for the DPP, asked the court to make an order that transcripts released for Brady's upcoming appeal should not be used for any other purpose. Why would the Irish state be afraid to release the evidence and the words this man here used to convict my son?
Absolutely.
Why is Graham afraid? They should be only too happy to put the information out there and show the wonderful work that Brendan Graham done.
Yeah.
Any tradesman likes to show his work.
Mm-hmm.
We go back to the Bible, and I'm sure Mr. Graham would not be hiding his light under a bushel. That I can assure you. This man has a serious opinion of himself. That's my opinion. That he has a serious opinion of himself.
Yeah.
But we've called him out and they haven't come back to me. Mr. Grant said he is anxious that the transcript released to Brady's legal team's appeal can go ahead as soon as possible. He added that there is an issue concerning matters already published on social media and that the DPP is concerned that Brady's campaign promised last January that transcripts of the trial would be made available to anyone who wants them. Again, we have the same issue here. What are they afraid of? Why are they shadow banning? Why are they tampering with Aaron's social media sites? Even our second and third podcast last week, Stephen, I think the figures would show that there was some sort of suppression, particularly on Twitter, I think. The girls were telling me. So they're suppressing us. And the final line, he said that the trial materials already published on social media were accompanied by commentary of a dubious nature. Why didn't he call me a liar? It would have been very simple for him to say there, the commentary would be, it's not dubious, would be totally contrary to the truth we gave in the court of Brady's trial. Couldn't he have said that? Calling me a liar. He couldn't call Aaron's campaign lies. Dubious nature that could possibly be contempt of court. Our son is serving 40 years for a crime he had nothing to do with and didn't commit, and he's coming out with bullshit of could be possibly a contempt of court. And the man who shot and murdered Detective Garda Adrian Donohoe still walks free.
Yeah.
And he's coming out with drivel like this. It is difficult to take. No doubt we are going to be showered with similar platitudes next week, but we have to be strong, focused, and as professional as we can in contradicting and showing where the DPP and the Irish state are telling lies, and they are now paddling to protect themselves. That is our views of what's happening. So that's a short summary, Stephen, of what's going to happen next week and the case of intimidation by the Bradys.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just to mention to everyone again that this is happening in the CCJ in Dublin next Monday, the 8th of April. Any idea how long this trial will run for?
Well, I think I may be wrong now. There was some talk of 3 months being set aside for it, but I'm not sure of that. There will be some legal argument, I'm sure. Like the very fact that the trial would even be allowed to go ahead while we are sitting waiting for the appeal judges to come back.
Yeah.
I think, well, we believe it's totally wrong. And it smells like a setup. As I said before, excuse the language, people, create a shit show next week. And this is what we are afraid of. It will allow some form of a soft landing for a strange, shall we say, result from the appeal hearing. That's what we're afraid of. So that's why we wanted to bring it to the attention of the Irish public and assure the Irish public that there will be no evidence that, and even the charges against Aaron and Dean Byrne next week, a tendency to. So, we're dealing with a capital murder case here. It's just ridiculous. And these platitudes, and yes, it's very difficult to stomach.
Yeah, I'm sure. Is your thinking so, Tony, with this case that they're going to be starting next week? Is your thinking that because of the appeal, the very strong appeal that you put in, that Aaron is going to be acquitted, and that this is just going to be used to show that, okay, well, it may not have been a legitimate acquittal, but they were muddying the waters and they were up to other tricks basically. And yes, he has been let off, but there's other stuff here now. There's other reasons maybe for him being acquitted. Is that it?
Well, I would definitely, that would be the preferred outcome. But yeah. I am very, very afraid, and I think although everyone knows how strong Aaron's appeal was, I would be afraid they would come back with the possibility that Aaron's conviction is safe, and they're using this as a shit show to hide behind it, that the Bradys were up to this, the Bradys were up to that, so therefore he must have been guilty.
Right.
That is what I'm afraid of. And like everything else, unfortunately, Stephen, and the media and our politicians and all those in points of authority are fully aware that time moves on. Everyone else gets on with their life. And Aaron Brady, like many other people who have been wronged, would be forgotten about, all but for us, his family and close associates and friends. And but if your scenario was right, and Aaron was acquitted, and they tried to create a clickbait show with this intimidation, I can guarantee we would double down, and we will double down when Aaron's acquitted, and release all the other information and details we have and the lies that was told.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just going to say there. Like, I mean, if the appeal doesn't go Aaron's way, and you finally get access to all this evidence that was used in the court, whether it's statements, whether it's video footage, all these bits and pieces that you haven't released yet.
Yeah,
I mean, I see a great documentary there. I would imagine you'd have no problem doing a GoFundMe, bringing in quite a lot of money and getting a professional. I'm not talking about me. I wouldn't be able to do it, but a professional outfit to do a documentary on this using all that evidence. And I think that would be very powerful in just getting the facts across to people, because you're doing your very best here, but just there's a lot more stuff that could be used.
Yes, yeah.
And really,
and again, if like everything else, if it was presented, we try to present it as best we can. We don't have much time. We're on a schedule all the time, and we do have to live as well as create all this. And even as you well know, to create a video of 20 minutes to half an hour, like it takes a whole day at least.
Yeah, of course.
Because I have to be so careful. We have to be so careful. If we made one mistake, they'd jump all over us.
Mm-hmm.
We'd have more of this nonsense here.
Yeah. And it just shows, you mentioned, is it 200 or 400 videos roughly you said you've put
400, I think.
400 videos, and a lot of commentary within that. And look, even in the last week with the couple of live streams we've done, you've called a couple of people on the prosecution side liars.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot more in other videos, and yet nothing has come of this.
No.
You know, that would be an easy win for these guys. Like, you know, get.
Oh yes, yeah.
Come up, look, he's a liar now. He's defaming people. He's making up stuff. But no, they just ignore it. That's the best they can ignore what you're saying.
Yeah. And just before we get very, very important next week, it'll be very interesting to see. Now, I have to say the media has been relatively quiet about this intimidation trial coming up. But I will point out that from the 4th to the 7th of October last year, during the course of Aaron's appeal, the media coverage was very sparse. And our national broadcaster in particular, RTE, now I stand to be corrected, but I think I'm 99% sure we're correct here, never mentioned one word about the most, I would say, significant appeal about one of the most brutal crimes that have taken place on our island. RTE, not one word about Aaron's appeal. And the reason for that is we are saying Michael O'Higgins, Aaron's defence team, knocked them out of the park, I suppose, for want of a better phrase. He was excellent. And Graham here walked into several traps set by Michael O'Higgins to highlight the truth of the coercion, collusion and corruption that went on. So it'll be very interesting to see how Paul Reynolds and co, how busy their quills are next week.
It'll be very interesting, yeah.
So it's just pre-warned. So I have said it, and we've always said it. The coverage was, I think we did have a brief look at the liquid gold about the Matt Katsky tape, and Alison O'Riordan wrote about that, and then there was nearly a blanket ban. That was on the Friday, and there was nearly nothing then in any of the newspapers or the court journals or anything about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. And the previous days had been, she did give us a little bit of coverage for the liquid gold tape, and then the well ran dry for our mainstream media.
Surprise. Rightio, Tony. Well, look, I'll just wish you the best again with the appeal, obviously, as well, which is we're 6 months waiting for a verdict on that. I don't know what days I'll get to Dublin next week. I definitely want to. I'll let you know. But I hope people listening in there can maybe
please, if they can.
Yeah. And do you know the court number in the CCJ?
We don't know yet.
Right. Okay.
And people, because of GDPR, it is sometimes they don't put it up on the screen so much anymore, the authorities at the court. So if you're having issues fighting in the court, and obviously people watching, please don't. I'll be walking around. I'll be in the coffee shop having a coffee. Please don't be afraid to ask. What court it's in, because if you ask, there's a possibility you won't be told.
Yeah, oh no, absolutely. Just float around in the CCJ. You'll bump into Tony, or you'll bump into somebody. You can be sure who knows what court number that trial is on. And so look, I bump into you at some point next week, Tony, and I wish you all the best again. And hopefully you do get a crowd there to support Aaron. And let's wait and see what happens this appeal. But I just don't see how they can uphold this conviction. And if they do, I look forward to whatever you'll produce when you get hold of all this evidence, like that tape you mentioned just a minute ago there.
Yes, yeah.
That recording from Belfast airport for a start. Like, some of this evidence, it will just blow people's mind. Yes, one thing, people listen to you saying it.
Yes.
Element of doubt there, and people said, "Did it really happen? That couldn't have happened." But when they hear the recording, so you really will go to town on these guys at some point, and they will be exposed for everything that they've done to this point. So. We leave it there, Tony, unless there's anything else you want to add.
No, that's fine. Much appreciated. And if anyone can, please pop up to the court on Monday. Greatly appreciated, because I have seen it in other cases. I've actually been up to see Chem O'Doherty's case a few times, and the few people there. And the authorities don't like ordinary, normal members of the public sitting and not even scrutinizing, but just watching what they're at. And that's all we've ever wanted, is just to show the whole story and let the people decide then, look at all the facts and all the details, not anything that's curated or manufactured or manicured. So thank you so much, Stephen. You're very good. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you to everyone who watched. And thank you so much for your comments.
Good man, Tony. Take care. We'll talk to you soon. So there you go, everyone. Thanks very much. If you want to just look in the description of this, if you're on Facebook and YouTube, you'll see links to the last 3 interviews we did last week. So check those out if you haven't yet, if you're not familiar with the case. And please try and attend the CCJ in Dublin next week, starting on Monday the 8th, and support Aaron and the Brady family if you can. All right, everyone. All the best. Take care now.